We are going to open Shobi and we are going to Module 5, Lesson 7 today. Our objective for the day is solve word problems involving the volume of rectangular prisms with whole number edge lengths. So we're going to start on problem 1. And it says, Jeffrey's first planter is 8 feet long and 2 feet wide. That's important information, so I'm going to highlight. The container is filled with soil to a height of 3 feet in the planter. Here's our question. I like to underline that in red. What is the volume of soil in the planter? Explain your work using a diagram. In this case, we are actually going to draw a picture of a planter. And remember, a planter is just something you plant things in. So I have a planter outside for my vegetables. We're just going to draw a simple box, and that will be our planter. We need to label. We already have some information that the story problem told us. We know that it's 8 feet long. We know that it's 2 feet wide. And the height is 3 feet. And we have to remember back to the last lessons that we've been learning, and we know that volume is equal to length times width times height. So in this case, our volume is equal to 8 times 2 times 3. 8 times 2 is 16, and we need to drop down that times 3. 3 times 6 is 18, and we're going to carry a 1. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. And we need a label, feet cubed, because it is a box. So the last step we do is write our race answer. And I'm going to change to red because we're answering the question. What is the volume of soil in the planter? The volume of soil is 48 feet cubed. So that is how we solve problem 1. Problem 2 says, Jeffrey wants to grow some tomatoes in 4 large planters. We have 4 of them. He wants each planter to have a volume of 320 cubic feet, but he wants them all to be different. Show 4 different ways Jeffrey can make these planters and draw diagrams with the planter's measurements on them. I am going to do 2, and I want you to come up with 2 on your own after you watch this video. So here is one planter. And here is another planter, and I drew them a little bit differently since they're supposed to be different measurements. And we're looking at the number 320 because our volume for both is 320. And I don't know what my length is, I don't know what my width is, and I don't know what my height is. That's what I have to solve. And when we solve for volume, that's equal to length times width times height. And we know that the inverse of multiplication is division. So I'm going to take the number 320 and I'm going to actually divide it. And I know that there's a couple different numbers that are equal to 32. That are multiples of 32. We know that we can use 2, we can use 4, we can use 8, we can use 16. So I'm going to use those numbers and I'm going to write them off to the side. 2, 4, 8, 16. Those are some of the numbers I'm going to be using to solve this problem. The first one I'm going to start with is 8. And I know that 8 cannot go into 3, but it can go into 32 4 times. 4 times 8 is 32, and when I subtract, I get 0. Drop a 0. 8 goes into 0 0 times, and our answer is going to be 40. So now I know that one of these sides is equal to 8. So I'm going to put my length, instead of a question mark, I now know it's equal to 8 feet. 40 is what's left over, and that is going to be for the width and the height. So one thing I can do is divide 40 by 4 or 10. In this case, I'm going to do 10, and I get 4. So the leftover numbers, this 10 and this 4, are going to be my other measurements. So here's a 10, here's a 4. So for this planter, my length equals 8 feet. My width equals 10 feet. And my height equals 4 feet. So that is the measurement of one planter. Now I used the numbers 8 and 10 and 4. So over here, I'm going to try to use some different numbers. Again, I have to make the volume of the structure equal to 320. So we're going to divide 320. And since last time I used 8, this time I will use 16. 16 goes into 32 2 times. 2 times 16 is 32. When I subtract, I get 0. Drop our 0. 0 divided by 16 is 0. So our answer is 20. So now I know my length equals 16. And I have 20 left to find the height and the width. And I'm going to take that 20 and I'm going to take 20 divided by 5, and I know that I get 4. I divided by 5 because I know that 5 is a multiple of 20. So my width is going to be 5. And my height is going to be 4. So again, I'm just going to rewrite those in here for you. Our length on this one, length equals 16 feet, width equals 5 feet, and height equals 4 feet. So now your challenge is to try to draw, because I showed you 2, so you need to try to draw 2 more with different measurements. So there's how I did those. We're going to flip and we're going to do one more problem. Jeffrey wants to make one more planter that extends from the ground to just below his back window. The window starts 3 feet off the ground. If he wants the planter to hold 36 cubic feet of soil, name one way he could build the planter so that it's not taller than 3 feet. I'm going to draw us a nice little picture here. Here's my window. And here's the ground. We are building a planter underneath this window. And it needs to not go above the window. I'm going to zoom in here. I know that the height has to be less than 3 feet. So I'm just going to go ahead and make it 3 feet. The total volume is equal to, it says here, 36 cubic feet. I have my height, but I am missing, I don't know my length, and I don't know my width. So that's what we're going to solve. And we remember that the inverse of multiplication is division. So I am going to take my 36 and divide it by 3. Because we do know that the height is 3. We can even write that out. Our volume equals blank times 3, because our height is 3. So back to solving. 3 can go into 3 one time. 1 times 3 is 3, and we subtract, get 0. We drop our 6. 3 goes into 6 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6, and we get 0. So now I have 12, and I know that 12 is equal to my length and my width. So I just have to figure out two ways, or I'm sorry, I need to figure out two numbers that make up the number 12 by multiplying. I know that I could use 2 times 6 or 3 times 4. I don't really like to use 1 times 12, but that's an option as well. I'm going to use 3 times 4. So my volume is going to equal to 3 times 4 times 3. So the question says, name one way it could be built. Well, our length is going to equal 3 feet. Our width is going to equal 4 feet. And our height was given to us, and that is equal to 3 feet, for a total volume of 36 feet cubed. And that is your lesson today. Don't forget to do your exit ticket.